Moving comes with a lot of questions. What do you pack first? How do you move the fridge? Did you rent the right truck? That's why so many movers choose United Van Lines for their first big move. With experienced professionals handling packing, loading, and transport, you don't have to guess your way through moving day. Your belongings are protected, your move stays on track, there's no deposit required, all so you can focus on what's next. United Van Lines, America's #1 mover. Get a free quote at unitedvanlines.com today.
This is the story of the one. As a maintenance engineer at a beverage manufacturing plant, he starts his day knowing every line is ready to run because Grainger delivers the industrial-grade products he needs to keep mixers, conveyors, and packaging equipment moving. With Grainger's vast selection of bearings, belts, and motors, he keeps operations running smoothly, so nothing grinds to a halt. Call 1-800-GRAINGER, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
Every team, every topic, everywhere. This is Believe.
Hello and welcome to the Irish NFL Show. My name is Shane Brennan and thank you very much for joining us as we are less than a month when this podcast comes out. It'll be 4 weeks away from when the NFL plays its first ever game in Australia. The LA Rams and the San Francisco 49ers facing off in the Melbourne Cricket Ground, an iconic venue that many of us in Ireland would be familiar with for anybody who watches AFL, who watched the Lions Tour in rugby last year. And of course, anybody with a familiarity with Australia would know, of course, 100,000 people from Ireland currently live in Australia. So it's an incredibly exciting time for American football fans down under. So I'm delighted to have General Manager of NFL Australia and New Zealand, Charlotte Offord, to come and talk us through the build-up and the excitement on the ground in Melbourne, as well as a couple of other things that make the American football experience in Australia unique. So Charlotte, thank you so much for taking the time to join us.
Oh, thank you so much for having me. It's great to see you again.
Yeah, and I'm looking forward to. I think some people who listen to the show know, and all my friends and my colleagues know, because I can't stop talking about it. I can't stop getting excited about it. I'm heading down to Melbourne to watch the game. Just talk us through the general build-up on the ground. When we're talking, you've announced that the Jonas Brothers are doing the halftime show, which is an incredible thing. I mean, the work that you do, of course, is not just about just throwing on a match. There's a whole festival and experience around this, and it is going to make this something that is probably unique in the Australian sports scene.
Absolutely. Look, we're really excited. We're 1 month out from the game, as you said, and whilst there's still a little bits and pieces to do to bring this whole thing to life, we feel good about where we're sitting right now. We've put a lot of preparation into this. This has been kind of at least a couple of years in the making now to get to this point. And there's a lot of excitement building in the market. We are people are excited. The stadium is going to be full to the absolute rim, which is fantastic. Aiming for 100,000 capacity, and really our goal is we're going to have a whole lot of people in the stadium, but really our goal is about how do we create a kind of week-long atmosphere of activity for NFL fans, for new fans coming into the game, for people in Melbourne and Victoria, and then obviously for people traveling in, this might be their first experience in Australia, it could be their first experience in Melbourne. And so we really want to embrace not only the nation, we want to embrace, Australia and Melbourne, and really put on a show. So a lot of activity throughout the week, which we can talk through. But yeah, it's shaping out really nicely.
I guess before we talked about the activity that's happening during the week, I want to talk about your saying there, it's got to be full to the brim. People who may not understand the Melbourne Cricket Ground, that's 100,000 people. That's an incredible crowd that's going to come in. I just want to link it back to an experience we had in Ireland when there was some over and back as to whether Croke Park could sell out 75,000 people for an NFL game. And I was sitting back being like, yeah, of course they're going to be. Was there any doubts that the NFL game in Melbourne could sell out, or is there always a feeling that, yeah, once the NFL is here, it doesn't matter. The Melbourne Cricket Ground is going to be full?
Not in my mind. As soon as we announced this game, I felt pretty confident that we could sell out the MCG. And that comes from a place where I've been lucky enough to go to events at the MCG, the AFL Grand Final being one, State of Origin, etc. And I've seen what a sellout crowd looks like there. I've also seen over the last 4 years how our fan base has grown and grown, gone from, 5.7 million fans to 8.8 million fans in just 4 years. And I'm also, very aware of how sports mad the Australian public are, and how much they love to come together. It's a real community around sports in this market. They love to come together for a sports event, and that could be, in the middle of the week, and it doesn't matter. So, in my mind, it was always going to be aim for a sellout, and I'm really glad that when we went on sale, there was an appetite for it. We had a registry of interest that went up to about 165,000 people for the game, and so obviously that built some confidence in us that people really wanted to come.
One thing I'm looking forward to when I touch down is the kickoff festival, which you're having. I believe you're right that people will be able to go there and watch the season opener between the Patriots and the Seahawks. And weren't saying that, and there's plenty more going on, including the day afterwards as well on the Saturday and on the 12th of September. A lot of different music acts. So you've obviously spent a lot of time organizing this for people who maybe are heading over or be interested in seeing what the kickoff festival is. Give us a flavor as to what we can expect.
Yeah, I mean, I think we're really lucky in Melbourne that the setup in terms of venues and the walkability to the stadium, and then obviously Melbourne Park being another incredible venue as well, it makes it really easy to put on a kind of festival event around the game. So thinking about Melbourne Park, it's a 3-day festival. It'll be Thursday, Friday of game day itself, and then the Saturday, the day following. We wanted to pull together something special that everyone could be part of, that all fans, whether they're at the game or not, could come and celebrate and be part of NFL culture for that week. And so Thursday, as you said, we will open the event with the Patriots-Seahawks game, the Super Bowl rematch. So very excited about that. So there'll be a big watch party for that. Lots of stage content. We'll then lean into a lot of music acts throughout the day. And we're really leaning into Australian music acts as well. We want to hero some of these great Australian bands and artists. So we'll have music acts throughout the day. We'll have our Commissioner live event on stage at around 5 p.m. So I think you'll be familiar. Commissioner will come on stage with some really high-profile legends of the game from both the 49ers and the Rams. We'll do a Q&A with fans. We'll make it interactive. It'll be really fun. And then we'll also have our Creator Flag Football Creator Cup coming through that week as well. So lots of activity. We're turning Kia Arena into a flag football field. We've got a full main stage on the Oval, lots of NFL activations, the rings, the trophy, just so much fun to be had for fans to come along and participate. And then on the Friday, it is the official post-game party. We know that the game is early, and we know that people are going to have a lot of fun at the game, but we want somewhere where people can go afterwards. There's a bit of live music, lots of fun, and they can continue their celebration for the game day as well.
Let's just touch on the fact, before we speak a bit more around all the other things you're doing, let's just talk about the fact that the game is at 10:30 Australian time in the morning.
Correct.
And it's funny because I have a couple of friends who are either Irish living in Melbourne or are Australian and NFL fans. And I'm like, well, this is not crazy. And they all seem to shrug it off as being like, yeah, we're always up at this time watching American football anyway. Like, it's the time zone thing when it comes to being an NFL fan in Australia is challenging, but I think it's also part of the charm. It's not too dissimilar to in Europe, but it's an extra layer of charm as to the passion that and the lengths that people in Australia go to get their NFL fix.
Absolutely. I mean, fans in this market are used to getting up early, as you said. They're used to getting up to kind of watch any real international sport, whether that's NFL, whether that's NBA, whether that's Formula One, other things. They're used to having to get up early to consume, particularly American-based sports, and so it's not just normal. And I think people, again, they're up early. They love a big event. They love a sporting experience. So I expect people to be at the gates ready for gate opening at 7 a.m.
I can't wait. I can't wait for the idea of the sun coming up and people are queuing up outside the stadium. It's going to be great. I also personally can't wait for the to be in there for the Seahawks Patriots game. I'm a Patriots fan, but I remember seeing Robert Irwin going around in a Seahawks jacket in the Super Bowl. So I'm sure himself and many other people may be knocking around. I guess in terms of the actual, growth of the game, you're talking about the fact that the commissioner is going to be speaking. And I remember when the game was originally announced in New Orleans 2 years ago, there was a lot of talk around how what the NFL is growing internationally, and this is the first time they've gone trans-Pacific, links into growth of the flag football game and getting more people playing the game. There's even talk that the NFL, who have put flag football on the Olympic schedule in 2028, are thinking about trying to keep it in there for Brisbane in 2032, which is of course in Australia. There's a lot of different things going on in terms of the growth of the game, and Australia is taking a very big part in that right now. So in terms of flag football and how that's growing the game and what you guys are doing around it, give us a sense as to the work you're doing and the reaction on the ground of people when it comes to getting their hands on footballs and playing.
Absolutely. Look, I'm a huge believer that if you play the game, you learn the rules quicker, you appreciate the game more, and you become a fan much quicker. Your journey to fandom is accelerated through participation. So, what's been really important over the last 4 years is investing our time and energy into the growth of flag football. And we've really seen it absolutely take off, which is, exciting for us. We've seen kids come through a program, learn flag for the first time, and then, the next year they're turning up with players that they like, they're with a team that they like, they're watching games, and they're really kind of going into the sport in every which way they can. So that's a really exciting proposition for us. So we're really invested in flag. We want to see the game of flag football grow. You would have seen some bigger pieces around the league, around us, launching a flag football league, a professional flag football league. We want to use flag as an opportunity to create pathways for young people. So whether that's pathways into collegiate college in the US and opportunities for Australians to be able to play in college and get a free education, or whether that's, hopefully, through the 28 pathway, and, hopefully if we're lucky enough to keep it in 32, to be able to have a pathway into the Olympic Games. There's nothing better than winning an Olympic gold for your country, or at least playing for your country in Olympic Games. And then thirdly, with a professional flag league coming on board, whatever that brings, we believe that there's pathway opportunities there. So the goal right now is get as many schools as possible playing the game, get flag belts and balls into the hands of young people. And so we recently announced an initiative to send out a free flag kit to every school in Australia over the next few years. So that's a huge initiative we're going to be doing. I know that we did a similar initiative in Ireland as well. So that was really the inspiration from that came from, which is great. And so we want to do that. We're investing in the National Sporting Schools program here to make sure that every school has the accessible resources they need to play flag. And then there's some government funding that backs that program that helps them achieve that through coaching, through equipment, and through the resourcing that we're creating as the NFL to bring that to life. So flag football is a huge priority, and it's really exciting to see how quickly it's growing.
That's one of my favorite things when the NFL comes to a different market, is the fact that they really invest in, especially the youth part of it. And we know so much about the importance of youth participation in sport, but also just, I think, the fun thing of letting, kids make the decision for themselves based on their own experiences, whether they like playing the sport or not. And I have to say, it's a great thing, and I love seeing it. And even in the secondary school near where I live, and the uptake of that American football package that came in. But logistically, in an island where you can go from coast to coast in 2 hours versus what you're doing in Australia to try and make sure it gets to every school, that's an incredible amount of work, and fair play to you for doing it. I want to talk a little bit about those pathways, though, that you were mentioning. I mean, I think in Ireland, we are seeing kickers, go over and play some American football in college, and now with Charlie Smith at NFL level. In Australia, they've been doing that at a very successful level. I think roughly a third to 40%, that number changes slightly each year, of college football punters come from Australia. We, of course, know about Jordan Mailata, who is at a very successful and really good offensive tackle for the Philadelphia Eagles, won a Super Bowl a couple of years ago. When you were going to talk about that growth earlier on that you were talking about and how many more fans are coming to the game, talk to us about the importance of seeing Australian heroes, succeed in NFL and in American football at large, and how that's impacting your work and what you see in the ground in terms of growing interest in American football.
Yeah, look, I think it's really important. I mean, Australians are really proud people, and it's always really nice to see someone, came from the same country, the same neighborhood, the same city even, that grew up in a similar environment that you grew up in, and has gone on to achieve incredible things like winning Super Bowls, or even just having a fantastic career within a sport like the NFL. So, I think a lot of young people grow up and have aspired to want to play in the US in college and have successfully done so, as you pointed out. And a lot of people aspire to go and play at the highest level, in America, football being the NFL. So we're really lucky in that aspect. But what that means is, having those local heroes is extremely important to how you really think about driving fandom. As I said, Australians are really proud people. We want to see our own people succeed. And so really leaning into, all the punters that have had success in the league, Michael Dixon, obviously, having such an incredible role in the Super Bowl this year, showcased that, you can be in any position and you can really play a big role for the team. Jordan Mailata the year before, not in a punting position, but, also had a hugely successful career. And then for us, it's also about finding more of those athletes. So we have our NFL Academy on the Gold Coast, in which we recruit athletes from all over Asia Pacific. We bring them in, they're on full scholarship, and they train every single day, twice a day in American football. They study playbooks. They really learn the game at the deepest level in order to set them up for success to hopefully go on to college in the US. And we've got about 7 athletes in that program now. It's a small program. It's very bespoke, one-to-one based. That will grow over time. But that program's already paying itself off. I think in the last 3 months, we've had over 85 Division 1 scholarship offers amongst those 7 athletes. And we've had 2 of them that have moved on over to the US already in just a short time. And the academy only opened 2 years ago. So, we're seeing the success of programs like that and the talent that exists in this market, and what it can do for the sport, but also for those young people individually, and what it can do for fandom. And that's really important to us.
So incredible power to have when you can make dreams come true like that. If you can run programs like that can find people and bring them over and really give them a great chance. I guess what I'm interested in terms of the background of a lot of these players you see have a really good skill set that can transfer into American football. What kind of sporting backgrounds do they have? Is it majority rugby league or American football, or not American football, Aussie rules? What's the sporting background that tends to produce the archetype that would translate well into American football?
Yeah, look, I think it depends on the position, but I would say it's actually not really one specific sport. Yes, there's a lot of crossover with rugby league, just given how big rugby league is in this market. Yes, there's a lot of crossover from the punting position, particularly with AFL, because AFL is obviously a big sport in this market. But we see guys coming through from volleyball, from basketball, loads of other sports where different skill set. But then at the same time, a lot of those skills are very transferable. And a lot of it comes down to their ability to learn and their ability to kind of follow the program with intensity, with the want and the aspiration to want to get somewhere. It's not something you can walk in and do off the street. It's something you have to put a lot of hard work into, a lot of dedication into. And with the academy, these guys are putting a huge amount of effort in to really change their own lives. So it's not necessarily us that's making their dreams come true. It's actually them that's making their own dreams come true by putting in the work.
Well, that sounds like fantastic work that has been done broadly by the NFL and a lot of markets. It's great seeing that the sort of Asia Pacific region is being served well as well. Let's talk a little bit about that sort of, I guess, Pacific connection to America, because in Ireland and kind of the UK as well, we find that a lot of there's fans of all 32 teams, right? But the balance is probably in favor of people who have connections to New York or Boston or cities on the East Coast. Like I was saying, I myself am a New England Patriots fan. I spent some time living in Boston. You look at the 4 teams who have international marketing rights, a part of through the Global Markets Program, who have marketing rights in Australia. The Raiders, the Rams, the Seahawks, 3 of the 4. The Eagles being the other one, of course, there's an Australian player in the squad, but they're Western teams, and there's 2 Western teams coming over to play the game as well. Does that translate in terms of what you're seeing on the ground, in terms of the teams that are more popular, get greater traction, or who are the sort of greatest attraction of eyeballs when it comes to NFL in Australia?
Yeah, it's an interesting one. We see there's a lot of different pieces to this. So the Global Markets Program has been hugely successful for those clubs that have been really invested in this market. So we've seen, teams like the Rams, the Seahawks, the Eagles, the Raiders, all, in terms of where they rank in terms of favorite team, they've moved up the ranks by really investing in the market, by giving the fans locally a reason to care. There are elements where, if you do have an Australian player like the Eagles and like the Seahawks, it does help. There's also elements of when they're winning, that helps as well, right? So there's a lot of elements like that. There is elements where teams like LA is obviously a very easy thoroughfare. So is San Francisco from Australia. So there's a lot of direct flights that go through those cities. And often when people are going to the US, they go through LA or they go through San Fran to go anywhere else in the US. But we also see some of the bigger teams, from the 80s, still really shine at the top. So Dallas Cowboys, the Dallas Cowboys cheerleaders have, obviously continue to be successful through the Netflix show. So I think that's been successful. Having an Australian cheerleader in that squad and hear it on Netflix has really helped with Faith Ward. So there's some connections there. And then you've got, those hero teams from the 80s that, the 49ers with Joe Montana and Jerry Rice and, all those kind of historic players that were big back then are still big now and are really holding strong for a lot of our fans. So it's a bit of a mixture. But the Global Markets Program certainly has shown success in how a team can come into market, they can invest, they can give fans a reason to care for them, and it's working.
I just realised now that for the last two Super Bowl champions have had Australian players in the squad. Maybe that's the real charm, Maybe if the Rams really want to get the Super Bowl win, they should be looking at Aaron Donald. They should be looking at getting more Australians in the squad. Listen, thank you very much for taking the time to join us and giving us, really illuminating for us what the NFL means in Melbourne and in Australia and in the Asia Pacific at large. For anybody who's listening here and, they may be sitting in Perth or Sydney, or even in Dublin, and were on the fence about coming over and experiencing what the NFL has to bring to Melbourne on the week of game day, and who are thinking about maybe coming along. Give them the elevator pitch, give them a reason to come over and experience it. Because in fairness, the work you guys have done and the show that's going to be put on is, it's more than just a game. It's going to be an incredible week.
Yeah, look, there's not a lot of words that you can really say. It's going to be a historic matchup. It's going to be an epic week of activity across Melbourne. It is going to be something that you do not want to miss, because you will be part of history being made as the first regular season game hits Australia. So if you're not there, you're missing out.
If you're not there, you miss out. That's all you. I think that's all you needed to say. Just make sure there. Yeah. Listen, if you're not here, you're not here. You don't get it. Listen, thank you so much for taking the time out to join us. I appreciate that. That we had to organize this in a way that worked for both of us, time zone wise, and you've been very flexible with your time. Thank you very much for that.
No problem.
And yeah, I hope to see you in Melbourne in around 4 weeks' time.
You will indeed. We look forward to seeing you. Thanks so much for having me.
When it's time for a move, do it right. With United Van Lines, America's #1 mover, a full-service move means everything is handled for you. Professional packing and unpacking, custom crating, furniture assembly, even storage if you need it. No surprises. Precision, care, and clear communication before, during, and after your move. United Van Lines delivers coast-to-coast strength with worldwide capability. Make your move with United, America's #1 mover. Get a quote at UnitedVanLines.com.
This is the story of the one who keeps multiple buildings running smoothly day after day. Plumbing that flows, HVAC that hums, cleaning supplies that keep surfaces sparkling. That's why she counts on Grainger. With easy reordering online and 24/7 support, Grainger helps her keep the products she needs on hand. So shelves stay stocked and buildings stay ready. Call 1-800-GRAINGER, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
If you like the show, please take a moment to rate, review, and subscribe. It really does help the show to grow. Thank you for listening.